The skies tore open at 3:18 UTC. It wasn't subtle. No secret invasion. No hidden fleet. The Varnock wanted witnesses. Above Earth, the stars dimmed as 37 colossal vessels eclipsed the moonlight. Blacker than space, shaped like jagged monoliths, they descended in perfect silence, their hulls humming with radiation that cracked Earth's upper atmosphere. Birds dropped mid-flight. Electrical grids stuttered. Satellites fried like bugs under a magnifying glass. The world woke up to a single message, broadcast in every language, burned directly into the airwaves and human minds. You are no longer sovereign. Surrender or be erased. No one knew who the Varnock were. Humanity had long believed they were alone, until the sky said otherwise. Telescopes caught glimpses of what seemed like artificial structures beyond Neptune 3 months prior. Whispers of something ancient coming. But this was no slow revelation. It was conquest. In Washington, London, Shanghai, and Moscow, leaders barked orders into failing radios. Fighter jets scrambled, nuclear silos unlocked. But deep inside the Arctic Circle, beneath layers of permafrost and concrete, a single red light blinked for the first time in 70 years. In an old military bunker that officially didn't exist, General Ray Alvarez stood alone in a freezing command room. The others had left. She had stayed. Her fingers hovered over the keypad, guarding a vault sealed since before she was born. A voice echoed behind Hertha Facilities AI, reactivated by a failed Deadman protocol. Threat level, extinction class, Project Revenant, authorization granted. Her hand trembled. She entered the code. With a hiss and a thunderous groan, the vault's circular door unsealed. Freezing mist escaped like breath from the lungs of a god. Inside, a single man floated within a vertical cryocamber, his eyes closed, his skin unmarred, his muscles still coiled like a panther's midlip. He hadn't aged. Not in 70 years. Not since he asked to be locked away. Far above, on the edge of the atmosphere, the Varnock Armada aligned. Their flagship, Krathsol, charged its core beam. Its target, Earth's military command centers. Inside the alien vessel, Varnock command leader Koth churned his mandibles in amusement. Primitive, organic, soft. This planet will fall before breakfast. They'd faced resistance in other systems, but Earth showed no sign of energy shielding. No orbital cannons. Only metal birds and fragile bunkers. Pathetic. At 3:25, Earth's defense grid was overridden. The beam charged. Then, something happened. A pulse shot from Antarctica, silent, invisible, but real. Every Varnock ship felt it. Sensors blared warnings. Subsystems glittered. Quantum relays skipped like scratched records. In space, just above Earth's orbit, something rose from beneath the clouds. At first, they thought it was a projectile. Then they saw the shape. Human, unarmored. No oxygen system. No ship. Just a man, hovering, glowing faintly, eyes shut, and then he opened them. Earth's skies turned gold for 1 second. Just one. Enough to blind orbital cameras and send the Varnock fleet into confusion. Then darkness returned, and with it, something more terrifying than the fleet itself: stillness. The kind that only comes before a storm. The man looked at the nearest alien ship. Miles above him, he raised one hand. On the Varnock flagship. Systems screamed as their main weapon suddenly deconstructed itself, molecule by molecule, collapsing into dust. Koth choked, mandibles twitching. What is that? On Earth, General Ray stared at the sky, whispering the name not spoken in generations. Revenant. The storm outside the bunker howled like it knew what was waking. Inside, lights flickered across a forgotten corridor that hadn't seen motion in 7 decades. The floor trembled, not from the Varnock invasion, but from the power being into a single chamber, one heartbeat at a time. General Ray Alvarez stepped cautiously through the cold vapor curling around her boots. The lights turned blue, then white, then black. The cryopod hissed. She stopped 5 meters away. She hadn't seen him in person. Few ever had. Most who did never spoke about it afterward. The man inside was motionless, suspended in a liquid that shimmered like starlight. His eyes were closed. His expression calm, peaceful. Peaceful. Above the Earth, chaos ruled. The Varnock fleet reeled from what they couldn't explain. Their flagship's core weapon had unraveled, mid-charge atomized without warning. No visible strike, no energy, discharge, nothing. They replayed the footage again and again. One man floating in space, staring. No shielding, no gear, no tech, just a human. Alien analysts screamed over each other in their native frequencies. It's an illusion, an advanced bioweapon, a cloaked battlesuit. Nothing made sense. Then another ship exploded, this time without cause. One instant, it was intact. The next, it had folded in on itself like paper in a flame. Back on Earth, Ray watched as the pod's glass dissolved, literally melted by the air around it. Not heat, not pressure, something else. The man stepped out barefoot, steam rising from his skin. He didn't shiver. He didn't blink. His eyes were like black stars, depthless, ancient, and glowing faintly from within. Ray straightened as he looked at her. How long? His voice was hoarse, as if he hadn't spoken in centuries. 73 years, she replied quietly. He nodded once and they finally came. Flashback, year 2081. They called him Kane. Before the wars, before the enhancements, a volunteer, a soldier who offered more than his life. He gave up his soul to become Earth's last deterrent. He was fused with experimental dark matter fields, quantum neural architecture, and layered anti-entropy fields. At first, he won wars with ease. He broke sieges with a thought. Then, he began to change. He started predicting attacks before they happened. He moved through walls. He bent space around him like water. He wasn't human anymore. The world grew afraid of the very weapon they built. So, he chose exile. I'll sleep, he had said, until I am truly needed. And if I never wake good. They buried him beneath ice and war crimes tribunals. Ray watched him reach for a nearby panel. The screen exploded before his hand even touched it. Power surged through the walls. Careful, she warned. I'm not doing it on purpose. Kane said, my restraint is fragile. His eyes turned upward, seeing beyond stone, clouds, and atmosphere. They're targeting command centers. Starting with Geneva, then Cheyenne. He exhaled slowly. Time slowed, literally. Dust stopped, mid-air. Screens froze mid-frame. Ray could still move, but barely, like wading through molasses. Kane walked toward the surface. The Varnock prepared another strike. Smaller, tactical nukes meant to disable military zones. Then one of their ships simply vanished. No explosion, just gone. One by one, other ships began folding space around themselves, as if trapped in invisible hands. Then came the voice across every Varnock frequency. This is your first mistake. The voice was calm. Human, terrifying. Terrifying. Kane stood on Earth's stratosphere, bare feet on nothing. Staring into the eyes of the alien fleet, a cold smile touched his lips. Let's see if you survive your second. The Varnock fleet, hovering like a continent of death above Earth, had stopped firing. Not out of mercy, out of confusion. Their sensors were glitching. Their time mapping arrays reported impossible anomalies. Every scan returned the same impossible reading, gravitational lensing, originating from a human life form. He was floating just above the mesosphere, half shadowed by the Earth below. No armor, no weapons, just Kane barefoot in the sky, eyes burning with quiet fury. From the flagship Kraftsaal, High Warlord Koth snarled, watching the screen. What trick is this? His second-in-command clicked nervously. Commander, our forward cruiser has ceased to exist. Destroyed. No air assets, no debris, no radiation, no signature. Koth slammed a clawed fist into the console. Fire, everything. And so they did. Missiles streaked across the black sky. Laser lances, plasma beams, particle distorters, dozens of Varnock weapons filled the void in a synchronized volley of unstoppable death. Kane didn't move. The world watched through trembling satellite feeds. Social media worldwide was with one word, who? Then it happened. A ripple, a soundless shockwave rolled out from Kane's body, bending the laws of motion around him. The weapons never reached him. They stopped mid-hoovering, like frozen sparks, then reversed direction. Time unwound. Missiles returned to launchers. Plasma cooled. Warships reabsorbed their own weapons seconds before they ever fired them. A scream echoed through the fleet. He's inside the causality loop. Kane whispered to no one, I'm not just in time, I am outside of it. Then he moved to the human eye. He vanished. To the Varnock. He was suddenly everywhere. One cruiser detonated from the inside, its reactor untouched. A second ship imploded into its own shadow. On the third, crew began vomiting black sludge as their bodies accelerated 1,000 years in an instant, crumbling to dust. Back at Earth's command center, General Ray Alvarez watched with hands trembling. What are we witnessing? Someone asked. A man, Ray whispered, who became the battlefield. Above, Varnock warriors howled in confusion. He's not human. He's violating the fourth dimension. He's bending gravitational boundaries. He's rewriting entropy. Commander Koth snarled. Then we break the planet. Desperate, he activated the dark matter splitter, an ancient weapon of last resort. It tore holes in reality, designed to consume worlds in collapsed dimensions. They targeted Earth. Kane turned his head toward the device, eyes glowing blue-white. No, he raised his hand. The entire flagship stopped moving. Not just in space but in time. Kane stepped aboard without breaking the hull. He walked corridors frozen in perfect stillness. Varnock soldiers mid-run, mouths open, mid-scream. He moved to the core, touched it. The ship groaned like a dying beast, and then, the entire flagship turned inside out, folding into itself with a sound like grinding bone and thunder collapsing. It vanished in the silence that followed. Kane stood alone, floating among stardust, surrounded by what used to be a fleet. Only a few ships remained backing away, engines screaming. He looked at them, softly, and spoke across the stars. You came here as conquerors, but now you kneel before something far older than war. In a distant part of the galaxy, Alien watchers, hidden observers from other empires begin broadcasting emergency alerts. Earth has deployed the Revenant. Panic spreads. This war is already over. Somewhere across the galaxy, in the Delta Triangulum sector, a room full of alien diplomats watched the footage in stunned silence. They had intercepted the live feed, though it now played on loop because the transmission from Earth's orbital satellites had simply stopped. On screen, a lone human floated in space. No armor, no ship. And around him the wreckage of an entire fleet. The Varnock Armada, gone. In minutes, a counselor from the Arxan Dominion trembled, his crystalline fingers rattling against the table. This is not war. This is myth. Back on Earth Antarctica, Kane stood atop the frozen world like a monument carved from time itself. Ice curled away from his feet. His breath steamed, but it wasn't from cold, it was from heat rising off his skin, as if the air couldn't contain his energy. General Ray Alvarez approached slowly. Her comes dead, her mind racing. You wiped them out. Kane didn't turn. They weren't ready for me, he said, but they weren't the real threat either. What are you talking about? They were sent to see if Earth had forgotten how to fight. They didn't know we remembered. They didn't know I was still here. His eyes narrowed, gazing at something only he could see. But now, everyone does. In deep space, transmission towers ignited. Emergency pings shot across systems. Earth has deployed a Class X operative. Human weapon designation. Revenant has reactivated. Immediate containment impossible. Deterrence failed. Governments paused. Civilizations halted military operations. AI war maps rebooted. Some empires marked Earth as a level 0 hazard. Zone not to be entered. Not to be provoked. Even the Skaldron Combine, infamous for purging suns, quietly moved their fleets in the opposite direction. Earth was untouchable. But not everyone agreed on a derelict station orbiting the dying star. Epsilon 3, a hooded figure watched the chaos unfold through a rusted holopanel. He wasn't scared, he was smiling. So, he wakes. His voice was gravel and ice. Another watched beside him, a machine intelligence, wearing a humanoid face. Should we initiate protocol veil? The hooded man said nothing at first. Then, no, let them fear him. It's not him I'm worried about. He pointed at a symbol on the screen, a pulse signature traced to Kane's reactivation. That energy signature doesn't belong to EarthTech. It's older, much older. Back in orbit, above Earth, only 3 Varnock ships remained. They fled, but Kane didn't chase. He watched, studied. He could feel the waves ripple through the stars. The reaction, the panic, the realization that Earth had become something more than a colony of bipeds. He didn't smile. He didn't rage. He just whispered into the void. Now they remember why I was buried. Suddenly, his head snapped to the side, eyes narrowing. He felt it, another signal. Far away, weak, but familiar. It was watching him. A deep rumble echoed. Through Kane's bones, no sound, just memory, a voice, ancient alien. You woke up too soon, little soldier. Kane's breath caught. He remembered that voice. From before Earth, reality is a fragile thing. It breaks quietly before anyone even notices it's gone. And at this moment, across the edges of Earth's orbit, reality was already beginning to tear. Above the stratosphere, Kane hovered in stillness, but space around him writhed. Satellites that had been knocked off course during the battle now froze in mid-drift. Suspended like puppets, particles glowed unnaturally. The curve of Earth began to ripple, just slightly, like a heat wave across water, down below. General Ray Alvarez watched the strange, silent distortion with a sinking heart. We didn't build that, she whispered. We didn't even understand him. In deep Varnock command archives, far from Earth, war scientists screamed into data cores. Local spacetime around the target has destabilized. Causal direction, fractured. He is overriding the environment. He is becoming the environment. One screamed louder than the rest. He's not fighting the war. He is the war. Back in Earth's low orbit, the last 3 Varnock ships veered off into deep space, fleeing at impossible speeds. But the further they fled, the closer he seemed to get. Because Kane wasn't chasing with speed. He was folding the map. Inside his mind, Kane stood in 2 places. In one, he floated above Earth, glowing with light that bent cosmic rays. In another, he walked barefoot through a corridor in his memories lined with doors that led to past battles. Forgotten wars, moments that had scarred time itself. The farther he walked, the less human he felt. He touched a memory. And it broke. It was a battlefield he didn't recognize. Not Earth, not even this galaxy. The sky was made of static. The ground bled upward. Stars blinked like eyes. He saw his own silhouette there, screaming. Kane yanked his mind back before the memory swallowed him whole. In the real world, the Varnock finally made a last stand. They regrouped near the orbit of Mars, activating an ancient doomsday device, a causality inverter, capable of reversing the flow of entropy in a focused beam. A weapon that kills time itself. As the device charged, Kane blinked forward. One frame he wasn't there, the next he was inside the command bridge. The Varnock didn't get a chance to react. He extended both hands. His fingers sliced through. dimensions, and the ship's corridors began looping endlessly, trapping the crew in a recursive nightmare. One soldier fired. The bullet curved backward and struck him. Before he pulled the trigger, time was meaningless now. Then came the final blow. Kane spoke not loud, not cruelly, but softly, like a prayer. You shouldn't have made me remember. The causality inverter exploded inward. Instead of detonating, it collapsed into a perfect zero. No matter. No time, no echo. One by one, the ships around Mars folded into silence, their mass compressed into invisible tombs. There were no screams, no fire, just disappearance. Somewhere, far across the stars, the Council of Ancient Alien Species observed the impossible data. A single word appeared on every display, translated into every language. Ewoks, even the oldest among them, had no protocol for this, because this wasn't a soldier, this was a force of nature. In deep space, a long-dead beacon lit up. It hadn't activated in over 10,000 years, to warn the old ones that the threshold had returned. The war was over, but the silence that followed was not peace, it was fear. Ancient and primal, the kind that made galaxies hide behind their stars. Space above Earth no longer shimmered with wreckage, no debris, no flames, no screaming comes, only Kane, alone in the void, his body pulsing with something that had never belonged to a human, or maybe always had. Below, Earth's skies had cleared. The moon glowed bloodless in the night. Military satellites rebooted, radar systems flickered to life, and terrified commanders tried to process what they had just witnessed. General Alvarez stood in the UN Orbital Command, speechless. He didn't just end the battle, she muttered. He rewrote the laws of war, her aide whispered. He ended time for them. On the edge of the galaxy, in a starless pocket of dark matter, the Council of 13 convened in panicked urgency. These weren't politicians, these were the real powers, species that had existed since long before Earth cooled. Their neural translators pulsed with a single, unthinkable word. Threshold. Species number 7. The ICA hissed in tones that melted lesser beings. A human should not be able to do this. Not even with ancient code. He must be an echo. Species number 3. The Var Dominion responded with a deep vibration of time's language. If he is an echo, then something older has awakened in them. The line is no longer dormant, and that was what truly terrified them. Back on Earth, Kane descended slowly into the upper atmosphere, trailing a storm of impossible colors. Air bent around him. Clouds shattered into crystal halos. He hovered just above the oceans of the Pacific, near the ruins of the Varnak spearhead ship. The water below stilled, not a single wave dared move. He spoke, not to Earth, not to the aliens, but to everything. I didn't want this war. His voice echoed across frequencies no human or machine could fully record. It wasn't loud, it was final. But you brought death to my door, so I opened it. Suddenly, thousands of dormant alien beacons across the galaxy observation posts, cloaked in asteroid belts and false stars, detonated simultaneously. Not from a weapon, but by a single signal. Him. Each beacon cracked open like glass. Its memory core erased. Its surveillance wiped from time. Stop watching. Stop whispering. Stop underestimating. Earth's skies turned to night, then day, then night again. 3 times, in a single second. It wasn't weather, it was him resetting the planet's causal footprint, fixing damage in spacetime. The Varnak had ruptured with their weapons. Somewhere deep in Antarctica, long-buried satellites flickered online. Again, one flashed a strange sigil, an ancient seal. Human, but unknown to modern science. In a classified UN archive, someone whispered, "This wasn't the first threshold, just the first we survived." Kane returned to Earth. He stood atop a lonely mountain, barefoot, shirtless, human again at least in form, but he didn't sleep, because in his mind, he heard it. A door opening, not here, not now, but soon, far beyond known space. An ancient prison blinked to life. One never meant to open. Inside, something laughed. Not out of joy, out of recognition. He's back. Kane ended the war, but peace was a lie, because the thing that made him unstoppable wasn't his alone. It was inherited, buried, and very old. High above the galactic rim, in a pocket of null space long erased from stellar charts, the abyss. Vault shook violently. That had no doors, no walls, just a screaming pressure field meant to hold a single prisoner. It failed. Inside, what stirred wasn't a creature. It was a signal, a mind made of collapsed time, bound in paradox, and now, it remembered Kane. He bears the echo, the last of the line, the one they tried to erase. Across the stars, old machines, reawakened, not alien, but human. From Titan's methane seas to Mars's rusted cliffs. Ancient Earth-built tech, buried thousands of years ago, sent a message. Protocol rise confirmed. Custodian active. Echo online. On Earth, Kane stood atop the Mount of Silence in the Himalayas. Unmoving, eyes closed, yet his mind tunneled into layers of reality no human had touched in 10,000 years. He remembered things that never happened. Wars fought in twin galaxies. Child, born in firelight, under Saturn's rings, a team of 5 human, augmented, each bearing part of the custodian code. He was the last one. The others, erased, betrayed, forgotten. By their own kind, on a hidden UN bunker beneath the Arctic Circle. General Alvarez and a council of scientists stared at decrypted logs recovered from a fallen Varnak. AI subject. Kane is a custodian-class human. Code traces back to the Event Horizon Wars. Confirmed pre-Exodus origin. Genetic line purged. One remains. What the hell is the Event Horizon War? A commander asked. No, one answered. Because it never existed in any history book, yet it was real, hidden by something older than any empire. Human fear. Elsewhere. The newly awakened prisoner of the abyss, Vault emerged not as a being, but as corruption. It infected gravitational patterns, flipped starfields into negative, bent physics and whispers. It didn't need ships, it had memories, and it remembered how to kill humans who carried the custodian code back on Earth. Kane entered a deep trance, his body glowing faintly with the same symbols that had once appeared on the Varnak warships. These weren't alien, they were human. He wasn't reacting to alien tech, he was overriding it. They didn't build the weapons, Kane murmured. They found them buried, misunderstood, tried to use them against us. His voice dropped to a whisper, but they were ours. In orbit, a second armada approached. This one didn't bear banners, it bore scars. Every ship was twisted, wrong physics defying holes that bled light. Symbols etched in something like bone. The galaxy's enemies had returned. The ones who had once made the custodians necessary. But this time, there was only one left. As Earth's moon began to crack, not explode. Just open, an ancient structure unfolded beneath its crust. A black spire the size of a continent. A voice pulsed across all human brains. Not a threat, a summons. Kane, final protocol. Activate. He wasn't chosen, he wasn't built, he was left behind on purpose. And now, the universe would find out why. Moonfall wasn't destruction, it was transformation. As the lunar crust peeled open like petals of an ancient machine. A spire, rose-black, humming, shaped like a dagger stabbed into the void. Around it, the space-time fabric rippled, warping stars into fractals. Humanity watched from every city, every orbiting station. Not in terror, in silence. Because deep down, they remembered. Buried in their DNA, etched in instinct, was the memory of a war so ancient it was deleted from time. The Event Horizon War. And the custodians who stopped it. Kane stood alone on a glacial shelf overlooking the shimmering sky. The symbols on his skin burned gold. His mind felt like it stretched across galaxies. And in that moment, he saw everything. The invading force wasn't from another galaxy, it was from a scar in reality. Rift created by an ancient human weapon, meant to destroy entropy itself. The custodians had sealed it. At the cost of their existence, but Kane had been spared, hidden inside normal human history, like a failsafe. And now, the wound was open again. High above Earth, the alien fleet hovered, jagged, angular ships, built from impossible matter, feeding on gravity and hope. No communications, no threats, just consumption. The UN Council begged Kane to retreat, to surrender, to negotiate. To negotiate, he didn't answer. Instead, he walked into the light of the spire. The spire opened like a blooming flower. And inside was a cockpit, not mechanical, not digital, organic, responsive, waiting for one signal. His final custodian recognized, soulprint confirmed, protocol, vindication unlocked. From deep within the Earth's crust, twin weapons activated, beams of compressed memory, pure quantum history, fired through the spire into orbit. Not at the aliens, but at reality itself. And space bent in an instant. Every human on Earth remembered the lost war, the custodians, the sacrifice. Billions stood, wept, knelt, or screamed out in fear. But in awakening, humanity wasn't new to war, it had just forgotten how much it had already won. The alien fleet reacted, it split into thousands of spears and descended like a swarm. No heat, no propulsion, just intent to erase. But Kane was no longer just Kane, he was the last echo of a people who had beaten death itself. He raised his hand, reality paused. The ship stopped mid-fall, wind froze, the sea halted, even stars dimmed slightly. This isn't your galaxy, Kane whispered. This isn't your story. He closed his fist, and everything fell apart. The alien armada collapsed inward, each ship imploding into a single photon of light, then vanishing entirely. Not destroyed, unmade. When time resumed, the sky was empty. No trace of the invaders, only silence. And one man walking away from a cooling spire, his shoulders slumped, not from weakness, but from remembrance. Years passed. The spire remained, now encased in a protective shell and labeled, "Do not approach." In every language, Kane vanished soon after. Some say he walked into the stars, others say he lives among us still, but the message etched into the base of the spire remained. We are the answer, not because we were made to be, but because we chose to be.